The Analects, Ancient Wisdom for Mastering Social Intelligence. Hook and intro. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to navigate social situations with effortless grace while others constantly stumble? Why some leaders inspire profound loyalty and respect while others, despite their power, command only grudging obedience? Why does it feel like some individuals inherently understand how to connect, to empathize, and to foster harmony, while for many of us, social interaction remains a source of anxiety or frustration? These aren't just modern questions, they are timeless human dilemmas that thinkers across civilizations have grappled with for millennia. Today, we journey back more than 2,500 years to ancient China to explore a profound collection of wisdom that offers not just answers, but an entire framework for mastering the art of social intelligence. We are talking about the Analects, the collected sayings and teachings of Confucius. Far from being a dry academic text, the Analects is a vibrant dialogue, a practical guide to living a good life, fostering strong relationships, and building a harmonious society. But what does a text from ancient China have to teach us about something as seemingly contemporary as social intelligence? It teaches us that social intelligence isn't just about external charm or clever manipulation. It is, at its deepest level, about cultivating an inner world of profound consciousness that then naturally manifests as empathy, wisdom, and appropriate action in every social encounter. In a world increasingly dominated by digital connections and often superficial interactions, the insights from Confucius feel more vital than ever. We're often told to improve our people's skills, to network effectively, or to project confidence. But Confucius suggests something far more fundamental: that the true source of our ability to connect, to influence positively, and to build lasting trust lies within our own self-cultivation. It's about developing an ethical consciousness, a bright mind, and a pure heart that allows us to genuinely understand others and act righteously. This isn't just a philosophy, it's an ancient technique, a lifelong practice for developing what we now call social intelligence. Throughout this video, we will unravel Confucius's revolutionary idea that to change the world, you must first change yourself. His focus wasn't on changing rulers or political systems directly, but on transforming individuals from within. This radical approach suggests that true power, true influence, and true harmony come from a deeply cultivated personal character. We will explore how the Analects guides us through this process. From understanding core virtues like benevolence and righteousness, to the practical application of ritual and propriety, and the continuous journey of learning and self-reflection. By the end of this journey, you will gain a new perspective on what it means to be truly socially intelligent. You'll understand why your inner world, your consciousness, is the most powerful tool you possess for navigating the complexities of human relationships and contributing to a more harmonious world. This isn't just about intellectual knowledge. It's about practical wisdom that can transform your daily interactions, your leadership, and your personal well-being. So let's dive into the profound teachings of the Analects and discover these ancient techniques for mastering social intelligence. Context and background. To truly appreciate the wisdom of the Analects, we must first understand the tumultuous world into which Confucius was born. Confucius, or Confuzi, lived from 551 to 479 BCE, a period in Chinese history known as the Spring and Autumn period, leading into the Warring States period. Imagine an era of profound political fragmentation, constant warfare between rival states, and widespread social upheaval. The central authority of the Zhou dynasty had long since weakened, and feudal lords vied for power, leading to ceaseless conflict, moral decay, and a general sense of chaos. It was a time when established traditions were crumbling and moral values seemed to be eroding. Confucius, born into a declining noble family in the state of Lu, witnessed this chaos firsthand. He yearned for a return to the perceived golden age of the early Zhou dynasty, a time he believed was characterized by moral integrity, social harmony, and benevolent governance. His life's mission became to restore this lost order, not through military might or political maneuvering, but through a radical emphasis on ethics and personal moral cultivation. The Analects, compiled by Confucius's disciples after his death, is not a systematically structured philosophical treatise. Instead, it is a collection of aphorisms, short dialogues, and anecdotes capturing Confucius's conversations with his students and his responses to various questions about life, ethics, and governance. This dialogic format itself reflects the Confucian emphasis on learning through interaction, questioning, and reflection. The text provides a pragmatic approach to ethics, focusing on how individuals can cultivate virtue to build a harmonious and stable society. At the heart of Confucian philosophy lies the concept of Ren Chinese letter, often translated as humaneness, benevolence, or human-heartedness. Ren is considered the supreme virtue, the ultimate expression of what it means to be truly human. It embodies profound empathy, compassion, and care for others. Confucius believed that cultivating Ren was the cornerstone of ethical living and the foundation for all proper social interactions. He once asked, "Is Ren far away? If we desire Ren, it will be here." Analects 7.30, suggesting that this highest virtue is not an elusive ideal but an achievable state through conscious effort. Closely intertwined with Ren is Yi Chinese letter or righteousness. Yi refers to doing what is morally right and appropriate in any given situation. It guides individuals to act in accordance with moral principles, often requiring a conscious choice to prioritize ethical conduct over personal gain or expediency. Confucius noted, "The Junzi understands Yi, the small person understands profit." Analects 4.16, highlighting the critical distinction between acting ethically and merely pursuing self-interest. Yi requires a cultivated moral compass, a conscious understanding of justice and fairness. Then there is Lai Chinese letter, which encompasses ritual, propriety, etiquette, and social norms. Lai is much more than mere outward ceremony. It is the structured framework through which Ren and Yi are expressed in society. It provides the guidelines for appropriate behavior in all human interactions, from bowing respectfully to elders to performing elaborate state rituals. Confucius believed that through the conscious practice of Lai, individuals could internalize virtues, regulate their emotions, and maintain social order. He said, "If you are regulated by the Lai and have not yet achieved a state of balance, then you need only to apply the Lai." Analects 3.15, implying that consistent adherence to Lai helps to shape one's inner disposition. The ultimate aim of this self-cultivation was to become a Junzi Chinese letter, an exemplary person or noble gentleman. The Junzi is the ideal archetype of a morally cultivated individual, characterized by inner strength, composure, integrity, and a deep commitment to ethical principles. They embody Ren, Yi, Lai, and Zhai Chinese letter wisdom, demonstrating social intelligence through self-mastery and empathetic engagement with others. The Junzi serves as a role model whose virtuous conduct inspires those around them, thereby contributing to societal harmony. This is not a title inherited by birth, but a status earned through lifelong conscious effort and moral refinement. Confucius's philosophical approach was revolutionary for his time because it shifted the focus from external power struggles to internal transformation. While other thinkers advised rulers on military strategies or legal reforms, Confucius proposed a game of changing people, not changing rulers. He believed that a society of morally upright individuals led by virtuous rulers would naturally achieve peace and stability. The Analects, therefore, became a foundational text not just for personal ethics, but for an entire model of ethical leadership and governance, deeply influencing East Asian culture for millennia. The text also places immense importance on learning Zhu Chinese letter and self-reflection See Chinese letter. Confucius famously said, "To learn and then to practice what you have learned, is that not a pleasure?" Analects 1.1. He advocated for a continuous cycle of acquiring knowledge, reflecting upon its meaning, and applying it in daily life. This is not passive learning, but an active, conscious engagement with the world and oneself. Learning without thought is labor lost, thought without learning is perilous. Analects 2.15 summarizes this essential balance. This continuous process of learning and self-examination is the ancient technique for developing a refined consciousness, and by extension, sophisticated social intelligence. Moreover, the Analects implicitly addresses concepts of fairness and proper distribution through ideas like righteousness and concern for social well-being. While a direct term for justice, as understood in Western philosophy, is not explicitly central, the pervasive emphasis on acting for the common good and rectifying societal imbalances points to a deep implicit understanding of justice. This sense of justice is rooted in the individual's cultivation of virtues, extending from familial duties to broader societal responsibilities. Core narrative and analysis, the core of Confucius's philosophy, and indeed his ancient technique for social intelligence, hinges on the profound idea that our external social world is a reflection of our internal moral landscape. To truly master social interaction, to build trust, foster harmony, and lead effectively, we must first cultivate our inner consciousness. This isn't about wearing a mask or performing for others, it's about transforming who we are fundamentally from the inside out. This transformation begins with self-cultivation, Ziashin. Confucius teaches us that the individual self is not an isolated entity but is profoundly relational, shaped by our family, community, and social roles. Therefore, cultivating ourselves means engaging deeply with our inner states, motivations, and actions. It's a lifelong endeavor of developing moral character, much like a craftsman meticulously carves and polishes a raw material. This constant process of refinement makes us aware of our own imperfections and drives us to improve. A crucial aspect of this self-cultivation is learning Zhu and reflection. See, Confucius didn't view learning as a passive acquisition of facts, but as an active, transformative process. When I walk along with two others, they may serve me as my teachers. I will pick out their good qualities and follow them, their bad qualities and correct them. Analects 7.22. This quote profoundly illustrates how social interactions become a living classroom. By consciously observing others, discerning their strengths and weaknesses, we gain insights not just into them but into ourselves. It's a continuous feedback loop. We learn, we reflect, we apply, we refine. This conscious self-examination, or Xingsheng, is vital for understanding our own inner workings and motivations. This process directly leads to the development of Ren, Chinese letter, humaneness, or benevolence. Ren is not a theoretical concept. It's an ideal internal state that social intelligence aims to foster and express. It's about profound empathy, caring for others, and the ability to act in accordance with our social roles with compassion. The core principle of Ren is encapsulated in the Silver Rule. Do not impose on others what you yourself do not desire. Analects 15.24. This requires a conscious effort to step into another's shoes, to understand their perspective, and to anticipate the impact of our actions on their consciousness. For example, a benevolent leader considers the well-being of their subordinates before making decisions, consciously reflecting on how policies might affect their lives. This isn't just a rule, it's a profound exercise in empathy. The conscious application of Ren and Yi righteousness is then channeled through Lai Chinese letter or ritual propriety. Lai encompasses all the social norms, etiquette, customs, and rituals that govern human interactions. It provides the structure and guidelines for expressing our inner virtues. Think of Lai as the ancient technology for translating our cultivated consciousness into predictable, harmonious, and respectful social behavior. For example, the elaborate rituals of a tea ceremony or the polite forms of address in conversation aren't just empty gestures. They are deliberate acts that cultivate discipline, express respect, and create a sense of shared order. By consciously performing these rituals, we habituate ourselves to virtue, making polite and considerate behavior second nature. The family unit for Confucius is the bedrock for moral development and the primary learning ground for social intelligence. Filial piety, Zio Chinese letter, the deep respect and care for parents and elders and fraternal responsibility, D Chinese letter, the harmonious relationship between siblings are the roots from which other virtues grow. The lessons learned within the family, managing conflict, showing respect, practicing care, and fulfilling one's role are directly transferable to the wider community. An individual who fails to show proper respect to their parents, for instance, is unlikely to act righteously in broader society. This familial training ground demands constant conscious effort to understand relationships and respond appropriately. The ultimate embodiment of this cultivated consciousness and social intelligence is the Junzi Chinese letter, the exemplary person. The Junzi is not born but made through continuous self-mastery and ethical engagement. The Junzi acts with integrity, prioritizing moral principles over personal gain. They are diligent, steadfast, open-minded, and inclusive, embracing diverse perspectives. Their consciousness is not partisan or biased. They seek to understand and to act with fairness. A Junzi, for instance, will actively seek to understand the viewpoints of those who disagree with them, rather than immediately dismissing them. They are aware of their own potential for error and constantly strive for improvement, reflecting a deep self-awareness. Consider a leader. A Junzi leader governs by virtue, not by coercion. Their moral character inspires loyalty and trust rather than relying on fear or strict laws. Confucius argued, guide them with what is correct, keep them in order with rituals, and they will learn shame and will moreover keep themselves correct. Analects 2.3. This means a leader's cultivated consciousness, their internal integrity and benevolent intentions, directly shapes the moral fabric of society. Their leadership is a conscious act of moral exemplification, which then fosters a collective sense of shame for wrongdoing and a desire for goodness among the people. The concept of Xin Chinese letter, trustworthiness, and sincerity is also paramount. A socially intelligent person is one whose words are backed by their deeds. Authenticity is revealed through actions, not just through eloquent speeches. This requires a conscious alignment between one's inner intentions and outward behavior. If a person says they will do something, their cultivated consciousness ensures they follow through, building a reputation for reliability and fostering deep trust in their social circles. A lack of sincerity erodes social bonds and diminishes one's social intelligence. Confucius also warned against the dangers of learning without thinking and thinking without learning. Analects 2.15. This highlights the crucial role of conscious deliberation. Learning without thoughtful reflection leads to mere rote memorization, a superficial engagement that lacks true understanding. Conversely, thinking without acquiring knowledge is perilous, as it can lead to misguided conclusions based on incomplete information or personal biases. True wisdom, and therefore true social intelligence, comes from a conscious, iterative process of intellectual acquisition and deep introspection. The rectification of names, Zhengaming Chinese letter, is another key concept, underscoring the connection between conscious understanding of roles and the actual performance of those roles. Confucius insisted that a ruler should act as a ruler, a father as a father, and a son as a son. This means that individuals must consciously live up to the responsibilities and expectations associated with their designated functions. If names are not rectified, then words lose their meaning and social order breaks down. This implies a conscious awareness of one's place and duties within the social fabric and the integrity to fulfill them. The Analects, therefore, presents a view of consciousness that is not merely an internal mental state, but one that is embodied and expressed through actions, relationships, and social roles. Understanding oneself is inseparable from understanding one's place within a social fabric. The Wei Dao is not an abstract philosophical concept, but a lived practice of ethical conduct and social harmony, cultivated through learning, reflection, and adherence to ritual propriety. It represents the ultimate aim of conscious living and social engagement, a state of profound harmony and order that ripples outwards from the individual to the family, the state, and ultimately the world. Deep insight and reflection, Confucius's ancient techniques for social intelligence resonate with startling clarity in our modern world, offering profound insights into our personal lives, ethical responsibilities, and societal structures. The Analects encourages us to view our consciousness not as a passive observer, but as the active architect of our social reality. One of the most powerful applications lies in ethical leadership. In a world often driven by profit margins, power dynamics, or charismatic performance, the Confucian ideal of the Junzi offers a vital counter-narrative. A Junzi leader governs by virtue, setting a moral example that inspires trust and loyalty. Consider a CEO who prioritizes employee well-being and ethical sourcing, even if it means slightly lower short-term profits. This conscious choice to lead with integrity rather than merely by compliance creates a positive organizational culture, reduces internal conflict, and fosters genuine commitment from employees. It's the difference between a boss who demands respect and a leader who earns it through their cultivated moral character. The Confucian emphasis on interpersonal skills is equally relevant. The principles of Ren humaneness, Shu reciprocity, and Lai propriety provide a timeless framework for building strong, healthy relationships. In our personal lives, this means consciously practicing empathy, actively listening, and considering how our words and actions affect others. For example, in a marital disagreement, applying Shu means consciously asking, "How would I feel if my partner said or did this to me?" This conscious shift in perspective can de-escalate conflict and foster deeper understanding. In professional settings, practicing Lai means showing respect, adhering to professional etiquette, and communicating clearly and thoughtfully, which builds trust and strengthens collaboration. The Analects' focus on self-awareness and mindfulness can be seen as an ancient precursor to modern psychological practices. The Confucian call for continuous self-examination, learning from others' good and bad points, and reflecting on one's motivations aligns directly with contemporary mindfulness and cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT) techniques. These practices encourage us to become more aware of our thoughts, emotions, and their impact on our actions, fostering greater emotional intelligence. For instance, a person struggling with anger might consciously reflect on the triggers of their anger, identify their underlying motivations, and choose a more righteous response rather than reacting impulsively. In an increasingly polarized and individualistic world, the Confucian emphasis on social harmony and community building offers crucial insights. It reminds us that our individual well-being is intrinsically linked to the health of our communities. The focus on relationality, mutual responsibility, and fulfilling one's social roles encourages us to look beyond self-interest and contribute to the collective good. Consider a neighborhood initiative where people consciously put aside differences to improve their shared environment, fostering a sense of belonging and collective responsibility. However, applying this ancient wisdom in a modern context isn't without its nuances and points of contention. The Analects operates within a hierarchical social structure, which might seem at odds with modern egalitarian values. How do we extract the universal principles of respect and duty without blindly adopting rigid hierarchies? Furthermore, the strong emphasis on tradition and ritual raises questions about balancing respect for heritage with the need for innovation and individual autonomy in rapidly changing societies. The challenge is to discern the underlying ethical principles that seeks to embody, rather than merely performing ancient rites. Let's reflect on some questions that Confucius's teachings provoke. What does self-cultivation truly mean for you in your daily life? Beyond acquiring knowledge, how do you consciously refine your character and intentions? How do you consciously practice empathy and reciprocity, Shu, in your closest relationships and in your broader social interactions? Are you actively considering others' perspectives before acting? In what ways do you believe our modern focus on external validation might hinder our development of genuine inner consciousness and social intelligence? How can we shift this focus? What rituals or established social norms do you consciously adhere to that help you express respect and maintain harmony in your daily life, even if they seem small? How do these contribute to your social intelligence? How can the ideal of the Junzi, the exemplary person, inspire you to approach ethical leadership, whether in your family, workplace, or community? What specific virtues would you prioritize? Confucius believed that understanding and fulfilling our roles is crucial for social order. How do you understand your own roles in society, and how do you consciously strive to fulfill them with integrity? These questions are not meant to be answered lightly. They are invitations to a deeper, more conscious engagement with ourselves and our social world, guided by the timeless wisdom of the Analects. Outro. As we conclude our journey through the Analects, one powerful truth emerges. The art of mastering social intelligence is not found in superficial tactics or external charm, but in the profound, continuous cultivation of our inner consciousness. Confucius taught us that to build a harmonious society, to lead with integrity, and to foster genuine connections, we must first embark on a lifelong path of self-cultivation, reflection, and the conscious practice of virtues like humaneness, righteousness, and propriety. Our inner world is the blueprint for our outer world. His wisdom, born from an era of chaos, offers a beacon of hope and practical guidance for our own complex times. By consciously engaging with our motivations, understanding others' perspectives, and acting with integrity, we not only improve ourselves but also contribute to a more just, compassionate, and harmonious world. This ancient technique is more relevant now than ever before. If this exploration has sparked your curiosity, I invite you to delve deeper into the rich tapestry of ancient thought. Consider exploring Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching for a complementary perspective that emphasizes living in harmony with the natural way, focusing on effortless action and spontaneity, offering a fascinating contrast to Confucian structured ethics. Mencius's philosophy of innate human goodness. To understand how a later Confucian thinker expanded on the idea that humans are born with the seeds of virtue, requiring cultivation to blossom. Modern psychological theories of emotional intelligence, EC, and social emotional learning, CEL, to see how contemporary science validates and articulates many of the principles of empathy, self-awareness, and relational skills that Confucius championed millennia ago. The concept of Ubuntu from African philosophy, to compare how another ancient tradition emphasizes the profound interconnectedness of humanity, stating "I am because we are," echoing the relational self of Confucianism. The journey of understanding ourselves and our place in the social fabric is a continuous one. May Confucius's timeless wisdom inspire you to cultivate your brightest mind and your purest heart, making every interaction an act of conscious social intelligence. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of ancient techniques for a better future.